Hi everyone, my name is Ari and welcome back to my podcast, Surrounded by Addicts. Now, as the child of two addicts, I've faced a lot of adversity and I also have a couple of things going against me as far as if I were to become an addict as well. So, I wanted to share about 15 things that I do actively to avoid being caught up in addictive behavior. And I actually wrote them down, so I'm going to be referencing my notes. But yes, for a bit of background, my father was an alcoholic who passed away due to his problem, and my mom has been in a long standing battle with her addiction to weed and cigarettes. I know that doesn't seem as like severe, but it definitely has taken a big toll on her life and just the trajectory of her life. And other than my parents, my family in general has a long history of addiction, and I want to try to break that cycle, especially because there may be kids in my future, and I definitely don't want to pass down those same habits that I had to grow up with. So, to start off with the first way that I actively avoid addictive behavior is I do not spend money on recreational habits if it's out of my budget for the week. So, recreational habits, I mean going out to eat or like takeout, things like that, because food can be addictive. And I've definitely struggled with my own like constant food noise. So I put that as like a recreational habit because I can make food at home. I don't need to spend money on it, but it's also really easy to just buy food every day to mindlessly eat. So recreational habit is included. Well, going out to eat is included in this, or takeout is also included in this. But also, of course, booze and weed. So I do not drink every single day. That would be insane. I don't drink every single day. I'm definitely more of the like social drinker. But like, let's say I'm going out to eat and I'm contemplating on getting a drink. If I really don't feel like spending the money on it, or if I don't feel like it's worth it, or if the like dinner or whatever it is would be so much cheaper without getting those drinks, I'm not gonna buy the drink. Or like we have our own like mini little like liquor cabinet for like when we host or if we have parties, we have like some options to choose from. Same. If I am hosting something and I'm in charge of buying like the booze, I don't go crazy out of budget. Like I make sure I have a plan for what I'm going to buy. I make sure I know what I'm going to make with it if I do like a mixed drink. Like I do not spend a lot of money on booze whatsoever, or at least I try not to. And if I know I'm going to be spending a lot of money in general, I make sure that booze is at the bottom of the list for how much money that accounts for. And lastly, of course, weed. I do prefer weed over anything else. I don't really smoke. I prefer to take edibles, but I do not go to the dispenser every single week. I very rarely spend money on it anyways because I just like I have family members that'll give me stuff anyways. But I if I do decide to buy, it's one of those things where I make sure I have all of my other priorities taken care of first. Like I make sure my bills are paid and that I have a savings and things like that. Like whatever my recreational habit of choice would be for the day, I make sure that everything else is completely set before I even think about buying or partaking in the habit. To move on to another thing that I do, number two, I do not drink or use weed when I'm overly sad or angry. And that's a big one because a lot of people that I know, they take to either or both of those things because they feel bad. And I don't want to do that because it's very easy to fall into self-medication routine where you smoke weed or you drink to feel better. You feel better temporarily, and then however long the numbness lasts, as soon as you get sober, you want to do it again. So you go back under the influence of whatever it is. It's just like it's a positive, or what is it? Like a negative reinforcement loop, whatever that's called. Kind of like how it's kind of similar to the episode that I made like a little bit ago about how alcohol can change your brain. It's kind of like that, where you constantly do a habit that's bad for you, but you feel good. So when the effects of that habit wear off, you continue to do it. I don't want to fall into that. And I know that a lot of people in my own personal life, that's how they kind of got started in their addiction. Maybe not all of them, of course. Like, I can't speak for every single person. But I know that it's a lot easier to feed into your addiction if you constantly use that vice when you're like sad or upset. And I personally try to make sure that I instill other coping mechanisms that isn't those recreational vices. And again, this also pertains to food because a lot of people eat for comfort. So I also try to avoid that, which of course is a little bit harder because you can't just not eat. Like, you do have to eat. But it goes back to the first point where I try not to buy either. So if I'm feeling upset or angry, I won't drink, I won't smoke weed, and I try not to go crazy into like a very indulgent meal, or I try not to buy from takeout or go out to eat because I know I'm just using that method to cope with whatever I'm feeling. Very few occasions do I decide to maybe smoke or like take a little bit of an edible to relieve some of the stress that I'm going through. And that stress maybe is stemming from something that made me angry or upset. But overall, I try to make sure that I'm in a good headspace before I decide to use any of those vices, simply because I don't want to continue like, I don't want to fall into an addiction loop on accident. The third thing I do, I make sure I don't feel the need to use my recreational vices. I double check with myself to make sure that I actually want to do these things. So it just goes back to habit formation. I make sure that when I feel like I want to maybe smoke weed, or if I do decide I want to drink, which again, usually on a social occasion, or if I do like want to go out to eat or order food, I try to make sure that it's not something that I feel like I can't live without. Like, I try to make sure that if I decide to do something, it's more of a casual want, not, it doesn't have such a grip on me where I feel like I need it. I don't ever want to slip or have that mindset of I can only, like, I can't live without A, B, C thing. And that mostly stems from my mom because she has been the biggest example to me as far as how she truly struggles to operate without smoking weed and without smoking her cigarettes. And at first, like I said, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but I feel like if you have like an avid, like at the very least, cigarette smoker in your life, you'll also understand this too. But she seems like a completely different person when she doesn't have cigarettes. Not to mention weed. Like, weed is a whole separate thing. I'm only harping on the cigarettes because I don't smoke cigarettes, so that, like, that addiction that she has to it, I don't really know, like, I don't know what it's like. Whereas for weed, I also don't understand what it's like to be that fully addicted to it, but I can understand how, like, she got there. But because of how my mom has been, I don't want to be, and I don't want to have the personality she has when she feels like she needs to smoke. I like to acknowledge that there's plenty of other things that I need to do that need to get done, and the caliber that those things are to compared to like weed, mainly weed, or drinking or going out to eat, they're completely different. They're on a completely different level. Like, no, I do not need to like smoke weed, but I do need to like get these chores done. So let me not compare maintaining a healthy and clean environment to just getting a little stoned. Like, let me not put those two things on the same level when they definitely are not. And not saying that my mom doesn't care about like cleaning her apartment, but like I said, just for me to avoid slipping into the addictive behavior, this is just how my brain works. Like, this is how I frame things so that I don't become codependent on any three of the substances. Like I said, I know food is like a little bit different because you do need to eat to live, but you don't need to order food to live. I make sure that it's something that I want to do, not something that I feel like I have to or need to do. Fourth on the list is I actively do things I enjoy while sober. If I can't enjoy it while sober, I reevaluate why to make sure it wasn't just because of substances. So I feel like this one is kind of like self explanatory. Before I started smoking weed, I started smoking weed at about like 19 ish, 19, like a couple of months. And all of the things that I enjoyed doing before that point, I continue to do them. Yes, have I done some things like under the influence, like a little stoned, that has made it like a little bit more enjoyable or has like enhanced the experience? Yes. But do I also do those same things sober to make sure that it's not just me tricking myself into liking it? Yeah. There's been times where I purposely will go out when I could have very easily like smoked a little bit right before the activity, or like if I wasn't driving, I could have gotten stoned, or like I said, it's hard for me to weave in drinking because I really don't like drink that often, but like depending on the social event, it might be like more appropriate to drink. So even if I have like a designated driver, there's been times where I purposely won't take or do anything because I just want to be able to enjoy the activity for what it is. Like, I don't want to have a substance making it seem more enjoyable when in reality it's not. Because not only does it help me not waste my time with things that maybe I kind of grown out of, but it also helps me not waste money on things. Like, if I can't enjoy something while sober, then I'm not going to spend my money on it. And I also might need to reevaluate, like I stated in this one, what changed about the activity where doing it sober is not fun anymore, and if it's just a me thing or did I truly grow out of it like as a person. And I don't want my everyday experiences or the very fun experiences to lose their spark simply because I'm not like under the influence. And also to add on to that point, I also want to remember it. I want to be able to enjoy the activities that I typically do sober. I want to be able to remember everything, and I want to be able to have better judgment so that while I'm doing the activities, I make good decisions throughout it. I want to be able to go out peacefully and not have to rely on sneaking up substance to enjoy it. Like, most places now are pretty open to people that like smoke weed, and of course like drinking has been legal for a very long time, and it didn't go so well when it wasn't legal. But I just don't want to be that person where I need to find a way to get a little buzzed or to like get a little stoned to actually enjoy the activity. Number 5, I have things going on in my day to look forward to other than getting stoned or drinking. Now, this is also a very big one. This more pertains to using weed and also ordering food slash like going out to eat. It's very easy, at least in from what I understand and what I've seen in the stoner community, I guess you could call us. I don't even really consider myself a stoner. In the stoner community, I feel like it's really common to use weed as a reward for completing tasks or using it as a stepping stone to eventually complete a task. For me, I try not to always reward myself with weed. Do I do it sometimes? Like, yeah, if I am struggling to like want to like vacuum, like doing a chore that will take a little bit, like doing like all the laundry or like cleaning all of the floors in the house, like vacuuming like where there's carpet and then like mopping where there's like tile or something. Like there's been times where I will tell myself like as soon as you're done with these chores, like then you can smoke. So I'm not trying to be a hypocrite when I say that, but I mean doing that all the time. Like the only reason why I can get things done is because I'm going to get stoned afterwards. Like no. Having things to look forward to in my day. I try to have like especially in the middle of the work week, I try to look forward to doing something when I get home other than just for me it's mainly getting stoned. Like I said, weed is the thing that I use the most. So I'm pertaining this just pertains to me getting a little stoned. So what I mean by that is I've been like if I really want to, I'll tell myself like I'm going to like watch a new episode later that I haven't been able to watch, or I'm going to like enjoy nature and go outside after I get a couple of things done. Like I try to reward myself in other ways other than just getting high. Cuz again, it can make you very lazy, it can make you unmotivated, it can make it harder to get things done. So I prefer just to treat myself with like an activity or just relaxing when I have the time. Ever since I started ever since I started the podcast, it's been easy for me to discipline myself as far as like when to record, edit, all these things. Because I gave myself another job, it's helped me be even more mindful about like when I decide to take breaks and what I do on those breaks, because now I do have such limited time as far as free independent time that I'm even more like I want to enjoy that time off, and not all the time do I want to be stoned and under the influence of something. Like it's nice to treat myself to like a nice midday walk instead of, oh, let me just get stoned and miss out on the nice weather. Or now that the weather is getting nicer out, I'll treat myself by planning a beach day. So as long as once I get through like these 2 work days, for example, I'm going to go to the beach and I'll pack everything and I'll get it all set up, and that would be what I look forward to the most. So like I think that I do think this one is more like self-explanatory, and I do think that most people like struggle with this, not just in a like a weed sense, but with any habit that isn't the most productive. It's really hard to not reward yourself with it. Moving on to number 6, I don't use recreational substances every day. Probably should have been at the top of the list. When I was making this list, I kind of just wrote down things that came to mind first. So these were in no particular order, but not using every day is probably like my the top should have been the top of the list, like I said, because it's in my opinion unhealthy to use every day. I know that there's medical need for weed, like some people are prescribed it, so I'm not talking about those people, but um, other than medicinal weed that people get because of like whatever health complications they have, recreational weed, I don't think it should be used every day. I know that's a little bit more controversial, especially in the stoner community, because a lot of stoners do smoke every day, or however they prefer to ingest weed, they ingest weed pretty much every single day. And like I said, I'm more of a moderation person. I don't think anybody should use every single day, but obviously I'm not everybody. This just pertains to me. But I think most people know that drinking every day is not good. So I don't do that. Definitely don't drink every day. And I also don't get like special like indulgent food, whether it be takeout or like going out to eat. I also don't get that every day. So that's like I said, should have been at the top of the list because that's probably like the biggest that's probably the biggest factor for me on how I manage not slipping into addictive behavior. Because if I can have that distance between me and those recreational habits, if I can go days on end without it consuming my life, without having constant thoughts about it, it's less likely that I'm gonna like form that negative attachment to it. And as I stated prior, I have struggled with food noise. Like, food has been something that I used to cope when I was a kid. So if anything, the takeout and the going out to eat is the hardest thing for me to break. And I don't I never did spend money every day on like indulgent food. Like, that was never me. Too broke for that. I don't do that. But more so, like, the older I got and the more money I made from work, the easier it would be for me to just like, oh, I'm just going to buy lunch. I'm just going to like buy a snack. And I had my fun with it. Like, I had my time of like spending the money that I finally earned, and I finally was able to like make enough where I could do that every day, like how a lot of blue collar guys like get like a coffee every day or something. And I lived my moment. I was able to do that. I had my fun with just spending money because I could. But I try to reel it back. I just don't want to slip into the constant addictive behavior, or the codependent behavior of I need that coffee every day from Dunkin'. Like, I try not to slip into that. And the easiest way for me to not slip into that is not using my recreational habits every single day. Number 7, I make sure that my personal relationships aren't built on our recreational habits. This one was the most important for me when it came down to me and my boyfriend. And again, it stems back to my mom and her relationship with my stepdad. They have like a lot of their own problems as a couple, like all couples do. And one of the things that I got to observe growing up with them was it seemed like they didn't have much in common other than smoking weed and smoking cigarettes together. Not saying that's true, I'm just saying from my perspective. And when their supplies would run low, they wouldn't get along the same way. And when their supplies was abundant, they got along a lot better. So as I was dating my boyfriend, we didn't he more introduced me to smoking weed. Like, I already knew what weed was, but I didn't use it before me and him started dating. So right off the bat, our relationship wasn't built off of our shared smoking habit. But as we were getting to know each other and as we were dating, it definitely became a part of like our normal routine as a couple, like getting like a little stoned together and like catching up at the end of the day or whatever. And as we're in our relationship, we've been together for like 4.5 years now. The longer that we were together, at the beginning stages of us smoking weed more often, that kind of was like the only thing that we bonded over, because it was just the easiest thing to have in common. Like, it was an easy vice because we didn't see each other a lot. Our schedules are like a little bit different, so the best way for us to connect was just to relax, get a little stoned, laugh, like put on something. Like, it was easy for us. And as we were like getting to know each other and trying to navigate this world, I was like, I want to make sure that we have other things in common other than just weed. So let's make sure that we're not just dating each other because we found like a stoner partner. Like, let's make sure that we have other things in common. And we do. So that's why it's working out great, because we don't just bond over weed. We have a lot of other things that we bond over. We have a lot of other things that we can talk about, ask questions about, and just have like in-depth conversations about, that we don't need weed to enhance, and we don't need weed to be the primary activity. And this also goes to like some of my friendships. A lot of my friends, they don't smoke. More of them prefer to drink, like social drinkers, which is like completely fine. But the friends that are more like stoners and what you would call like potheads, I also try to make sure that I could hang out with them sober because I want to be around them because I like their personality, not just because they partake in the same thing that I do. Like, it sounds kind of stupid to say it out loud that you want to hang out with people that you enjoy the company of, but when you slip into a habit, it's very easy to not care who you're around as long as they also partake in that habit. That's me seeing firsthand how addiction can influence the decisions you make. So I try to make sure that all the friends that I have, whatever vice or like recreational habit they have, we don't just bond over that, that we have other things in common, that we can do other activities that we don't need to get stoned or we don't need to get buzzed for. Moving on to number 8, I acknowledge that an addiction to anything can form at any time for a lot of reasons and that I'm not above it. Uh, Basically, it just means that I am not perfect and I am human and that I don't know what the future holds for me. Obviously, everything that I mentioned up until this point is to help me prevent as best as I can forming an addiction to anything just because it's something that I know my family has a history of struggling with addiction. But that doesn't mean that I'm above it happening. It's one of those things where I'm aware that it could be a weak point, and because it's a weak point, I have to acknowledge that I could have something tragic happen in my life, or I could just grow into that type of person that succumbs to an addiction. Like, I don't know what the future holds for me whatsoever. So, for me to say that I could never form an addiction to anything just because I don't have it now does not mean it can't happen. And I guess that could be considered a pessimistic view of addiction in general and how people develop them. And like most people, I feel like start an addiction typically on the younger side. It's usually like you don't go like 30, 35, 40 years of your life doing like not having an addiction problem to boom suddenly you're a full-blown addict, but it could still happen. And I'm just aware of it. I'm aware that there's things going on in the world. There's things that could go on with me where I might lean towards an addiction to whatever substance to lean on for comfort, pleasure, to just fill a void. Like, I acknowledge that it's a possibility. And in a weird way, it's kind of, I guess, comforting, you could say. Comforting that I know that I can't be perfect and that it's okay that I'm not perfect, but it's good and I am proud of myself that I try my best not to slip into addictive behavior. Number 9, I learned when to say no, which helped me not give in to peer pressure, and I also learned how to remove myself from situations that made me feel uncomfortable or unsafe. Now, those I could have separated those 2 points at I could have separated them, but I decided to just group them in because I feel like they go hand in hand. Usually, when you can do one, you can do the other, and if you can do the other, you've already been able to do the other thing. Like, it's like interchangeable skills. I feel like once you have one, you have the other for the most part. And as far as like peers, like friends, like I've never really felt peer pressure to do certain things. Or in the school environment that I had, I went to a VOTEC school, so VOTEC high school. So what that means was for 2 weeks I would stay in academics and do like your typical math, English, science, etc. And then for the other 2 weeks I would be in my shop. So in shop you would be with the same group of kids the whole entire year for your the rest of your high school time. So the kids that I had in my shop, I was around a lot more. And despite me being around them, I wasn't like friends. Like, we weren't all friends. We were just, kids that had to work together because we were in the same shop. And in my shop, I would say probably about like half of the kids were smoking vapes or dap pens or whatever they decided to bring into school. Despite being asked, or I could have easily joined, I never really cared that I wasn't a part of the group that smoked with them. And of course, there was times where it felt isolating because I'm one of the few people that's not participating in the thing that everybody is doing. Wasn't the only one. There's a couple other kids in my shop that also didn't do it. But even though they weren't my friends and I didn't really care for the validation, it was such an easy way to be able to bond with people that I'm quite literally stuck with for all of high school. Because we get our shops like halfway through our freshman year of high school. So for 3.5 years, half of the year, every single year, you're with the same kids over and over and over again. And if I wanted to, I could have taken the opportunity of when they were smoking, whenever they were, which was all the time, I would have used that opportunity to bond with them. But I know that it wasn't worth it to me. And I kind of, like, I struggled a bit with the feeling like I should join in. But I never did because it just wasn't something that I wanted to open myself up to. And I also felt a lot of pressure from a particular family member who I did make an episode about, my drunkle. He would kind of make fun of me if I decided not to because I was a teenager. So he would be like, "Oh, you're broken. Like, what teenager like wouldn't take up the opportunity to like drink more or to smoke?" Because I never smoked with him, and I only started smoking weed once I was 19 when I graduated high school. So anyways, I felt a lot of pressure from him, but it was more of him making fun of me, poking fun at me, and then always like asking. Like he was constantly asking like, "Oh, are you sure? Are you sure?" So I had two different types of the peer pressure. Just wanted to bond with my shop mates that I kind of felt like I should have, kind of felt like I didn't want to at the time. So I was like kind of going through a battle like, oh, it'd be a lot easier to get along with them if I decided to smoke with them. And then also with my uncle, Drunkle, I just didn't want him to make fun of me anymore. But despite those two different types of pressure, the whole time, no, I wasn't into it. Did I drink with my Drunkle? Yeah, I like I said, I already made an episode about that, so I won't go too far into it. But I never drank more than I really wanted to, and I never smoked with him. And also with the shop kids, same. I never did anything with them. I was not interested. And after years of going through that, I learned how to pivot out of a conversation, how to change the topic, how to make whatever we were talking about or the environment that I was in a little bit more comfortable so I wouldn't keep feeling that like same pressure. Because I don't know about anybody else, but when I get like kind of like flustered or not, like, embarrassed, like nervous, like it's really hard for my cheeks to get it's hard for me to prevent my cheeks from getting red. Like I can feel like to the touch like that they get really hot and they get really red. And I wanted to work on not letting that be so obvious because I just took it as a sign of weakness. So I had to practice making my situations more comfortable, which was either leaving or adapting to those situations. And those two things combined has helped me a lot navigate and understand when I want to do certain things, who I would want to do them with, and know the difference between people that I trust, people that I don't trust, people that I kind of know, people that I know really well. And overall, it teaches me the lesson of the type of person that I want to be, because I now actively avoid situations where I might be made uncomfortable because there's other drugs around, or there's people that are more like a lot more into drinking than I am, or people that are just really hardcore stoners where it's like you're taking it too far. Like I am now a better at keeping myself safe and aware because of the number 9 point that I just brought up. So speaking of points, number 10 is I maintain boundaries with loved ones who struggle with addiction. This one I would consider still a work in progress because it's just hard to navigate as family members get older and their problems get like slightly morph into slightly different problems, and then I'm growing up, so like I'm learning, I'm doing. But again, it kind of goes along with the previous point, number 9, about just peer pressure, removing from uncomfortable situations. Only caveat with this one I would say is because they're loved ones that are still struggling with addiction, I need to be more careful because I am very sympathetic to their situations, and because of the sympathy that I have for them, I don't want it to slip into empathy because sympathy and empathy are two different things. Sympathy is like, even though you've never been in that situation, you can understand, in my opinion, you can see and understand why they are the way they are. You can feel compassionate for what they're going through. Where empathy, in my opinion, from how, like, the definitions that I've read about sympathy versus empathy, and then how I see it applied, like online and in person, to me, empathy is more, I know exactly how you feel because I've been in that exact situation, which I've not been in that exact situation. So I don't have the empathy, I have the sympathy for my loved ones that are going through an active addiction. And because of that, I don't want to slip into, oh, maybe I do empathize with them. I don't need to be not tricked, because I don't believe that they're actively trying to trick me into like hurting me, but I don't want to slide so deep into my sympathy that I have suicidal empathy, which just makes it where I get too close to them, that I let their problems overconsume me, where I feel the need to fix them because they're my loved ones. Like, I don't want to see them going through that, but I also know that I can't get overly involved in their addiction because I don't know how I'm going to react seeing that turmoil, and it's not my problem to fix because it's a them problem. I can love them from afar. I can like understand to a certain degree what they're going through, but I would never truly know what it's like to go through an addiction because I've never gone through one myself. And even if I did, everybody's different. So keeping boundaries between the loved ones in my life that have addictions is very crucial for me to not let addictive problems become my problems because I don't have those problems. Number 11. I always have a goal in mind to accomplish to avoid becoming too lazy, unmotivated, / undisciplined. I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory. I like to have things to do because if I don't have something to do, not all the time, like I take lazy days as well, and there's times where I like if I'm sick, like I don't push it too crazy, but for the most part, I like to try to get things done. I like to have long-term goals, short-term goals, things that I want to accomplish simply because as long as I have like a step by step or goals 1 through like 5 laid out, I always have something to work towards. Not everything is like a hustle bustle goal that I need to get accomplished as soon as possible, but just having something to keep me going makes it easier for me to not have that like that give up feeling, like where you like screw everything, I'm done, I can't do this anymore, I'm just gonna like get high or get drunk. Like, I don't want to feel like that. And by telling myself that I have things to do, that I have things to live for, that I have things that I want to see and experience, it prevents me from slipping into, oh, it'd just be so much easier, my life would be so much more like blissful if I could just get stoned, or I have too many things going on, I'm just gonna get drunk, I'm just gonna drink, I'm just gonna smoke weed. Like, I'm not gonna do anything because nothing is worth it. I don't want to feel like that. Have my days, of course, I think everybody does, but I don't want that to be my everyday. And so to prevent myself from feeling too down in the dumps, I just have little small goals every day that I like to accomplish, short-term goals, long-term goals, just things that I can easily work on. So number 12 is I don't use my recreational habits as constant rewards. Now, there's been times where I definitely do. Like, if I'm really struggling to, like, want to clean my apartment or, like, do a particular chore, depending on what's going on and what's going to be happening after that chore is done in the day, I might reward myself by, like, taking a bit of an edible or, like, smoking a bit. Like I'm not like that. Like if I really need, or not really need, but if I'm really struggling to do like a simple chore, simple task, and the thought of getting like a bit of a buzz will help me actually do it, then I'll do it. Do I do that every single time? No. But like on the weekends or something, if I just want to have like a lazy Saturday, but I need to get things done, that's not always, and it's not most of the time. The reason why I don't do that most of the time is because I don't want to trick my brain into having that positive addiction loop of complete a task, you get rewarded by getting high or drunk, which again, not as often for me, but throwing it in there because again, it's a possibility. Or even ordering food because I've mentioned, I have struggled with like food in the past. Like I've always struggled with my weight in the past, and like still currently it's just a lot more handled. But like, so ordering food, getting a sweet treat, getting a little stoned, getting a little buzz, like any of those like three things, if I constantly tell myself that once I complete a task, I can do one of those three things, when I'm done with one of those three things, what's going to happen? I'm going to be bummed out because it's over. Oh, but if I just do another task, then I can keep doing the thing. Like I can keep doing the habit and just repeating the cycle of bummed because I have to do a chore, do the chore. Okay, I'm going to reward myself with this recreational habit. Oh, it's over. Okay, I'm going to do another chore. Like it's a slippery slope. At least for me, like I could see myself getting to like, oh, I just like always chasing that like next buzz feeling or that next like food reward. And I'm not a dog. I don't need to train myself like a dog. It's okay for me to do things without an immediate reward. Like what's that? Like delaying gratification. Like it's okay for me to not have like a reward as soon as I'm done with a very basic task. Again, once in a while I think it's completely different. But on an everyday basis, I don't need to do that to myself. Number 13. I take extended breaks if I indulge in a habit more frequently than my usual. So again, these habits just include like ordering food slash going out to eat. Those two are combined because it's, a luxury not to have to cook, whether you get it delivered or you go out to eat. Getting stoned or getting a little bit buzzed. So what do I mean by extended break? If you're a regular pot user, stoner, whatever you want to call yourself, you probably heard of tea breaks, tolerance breaks. Basically, you stop ingesting weed in any form for typically at least like a week so that your tolerance drops, so that when you get back onto using it, you don't have to take as much to feel the same effects. And that kind of goes with everything. I feel like a tolerance break could be applied to anything for the most part, but a tea break is at least what I associate to a weed break, basically. But it's exactly what it sounds like. Like if I'm on vacation, if I'm going out and I drink a little bit more than I normally would, like on the weekends or something, I'm not going to be buying another drink for at least a week. Probably 2 weeks, probably not for another month because I just don't drink that frequently. But more so with weed, if I was on a roll for the like most likely because of like vacation or because there's been times where I'm just doing my normal thing day to day, going to work, coming home, da da da. And for whatever reason, I just feel like it. Like I'm not sad, I'm not mad. The thought of getting like a little bit buzzed, I like that idea. So I might like smoke or take a bit of an edible for a couple of days in a row. For maybe like a whole week straight, I will be that stoner that gets high every day. But after that like 1 week period, okay, yeah, like I can chill it out for a bit. I indulged a lot. There's no need for me to continue on this pattern of every single day, so I'm gonna stop. Same with on vacation. Like when me and my boyfriend, most of the time when we travel, well, in the states, not international. We haven't done well. We've only done one international trip. Anyways, when we travel, if we go to a state where weed is legal, we're going to be high for the most part on vacation because we're on vacation. But as soon as we come back from vacation, okay, like I'm gonna chill it out with weed, and same with food. Again, mostly on vacation, going out to eat every day, getting fast food, trying all the things. As soon as I come back home, I don't need to be trying all the food in the area that I live in. It's okay for me to go back to making my own lunches and dinners and breakfasts. Like I don't need to do that every single day. It's unnecessary. And again, I could see myself getting to the habit of just continuing it on. If I didn't have the discipline to not indulge every single day, it would easily become a full blown addiction for me personally. Number 14, I maintain my healthy, productive habits to the best of my abilities. So, obviously, healthy and productive can mean different to different people. I don't have any kids. I live in a small apartment building. I basically just have to go to work. Like I don't really even have to be doing this. Like this is more of like a hobby that if one day it turns into like a monetization thing, then that's different. But like I really just have to go to work and clean my apartment, and with my free time I could just spend time with my boyfriend and do my own hobbies. So when I say healthy and productive, I just mean the routine that I know that makes me feel the best. I stick to it the best I can, and I don't let, or I try not to let, my recreational habits get in the way of that. So I try to stick to almost the same routine pretty much every day. I try to do the things I know make me feel good, like exercising, like trying to prioritize sleep, like prioritizing the food that I eat, and then, of course, prioritizing like my relationship with my boyfriend, my relationship with my faith. Like, I try to make sure that I have all of those boxes checked before I even think of doing anything that's a little bit more recreational that could take me off of my productive path. And when I say like recreational, I literally just mean like smoking, drinking, ordering food. Like I don't count my habits my hobbies, excuse me. I don't count my hobbies as something that could derail my productive life, because if you feel like you waste your time, but whatever you did, you enjoyed it, then you didn't waste your time. Like if I were to like color a coloring page and it took me like an hour, I don't consider that like a waste of time where I wasn't productive, because the productive part was me being at peace, me just enjoying time with myself for about an hour, and it was probably relaxing. So I don't consider that like a recreational thing that's derailing me, if that makes sense. Like I still did something productive. It's just not what most people would consider productive, but to me it is. And then lastly, number 15 is when appropriate, I indulge. Like I already alluded to, when I'm on vacations, if it's legal, I'm bringing my own bud. And if it's not legal, I'm probably going to get buzzed from drinking a little bit. And then of course, when I travel, I want to try the local food of wherever the fuck I'm going. So I'm going to eat the local food, and I'm not necessarily going to like count my calories. I may not prioritize a high protein diet throughout my vacation, especially when if I'm only going to be gone for like a weekend. Why would I spend 2 days stressing out about all these little things when, in the broad scope, 2 days is not going to ruin really any of my progress? So it's not something that I'm not so staunch and not ruining my life with addiction that I can't have fun when it's appropriate for me to have fun. I definitely indulge when I want to. I indulge when I am meant to indulge. And I have a good time when I allow myself to. I fully acknowledge that when I go out, whether it be for a day trip or a vacation or just it's like my first free weekend where I don't have to go anywhere. I acknowledge that that's also important for me to enjoy to the fullest extent that I can. And I don't see a point in denying myself something or some things when I don't have a problem with any of the three things that I've been focusing on in this video. I don't have a problem with them, which is why I can, indulge when I want to. I just make sure that the past points in this video that I made, I just make sure to keep those things in check so that it doesn't become a problem. But I know that I don't have one. I'm secure with that. So when it's appropriate for me to indulge, I indulge. And yeah, those are 15 ways that I try to prevent myself from slipping into addiction or having addictive behavior, however you want to call it. And I thought it would just be interesting to make this video because these are things that I've learned along the way. These are things that, like hindsight 2020, observing my previous behavior and just how I used to be from like a teenager to now. These are the things that stuck out to me the most that I wasn't even intentionally doing. It was just something that I learned along the way and it worked. Worked for me considering my age and what I've been through. I feel like I'm very secure with where I'm at in my life, and I, not all of it, but I attribute some of that success to the 15 points that I just laid out. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to Surrounded by Addicts. Remember to take life one day at a time and to enjoy the little things in life. Stay tuned for the next episode.